Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to the energy report for the month of August. A little late, but whatever. We're still at the beginning of August. And I guess I'll just open this up by saying that I have been very scarce around these parts lately. I have been scarce around social media because I am just going through, such an emotional season, which I was not anticipating at all. I always adore summer so much, and this year more than ever, I want to be so present in it and just soak it all up. But I'm also like waterworks over here, so emotional, crying pretty much every other day, independent of my hormonal cycle or anything that's going on in my life. Just things are like triggering such a flood of emotions. It feels like a massive heart opening and heart softening. But also all I can attribute it to is like a deep gratitude for the richness of the present moment. And I'm feeling kind of conflicted about social media and even podcasting and content creating altogether, because this life, this now moment is so fucking precious. It is so beautiful and it is so ephemeral, and it's where all of the juice and the magic of reality lies. The juice and the magic of creation, the juice and magic of divinity, all of our exaltation and our consciousness expansion and our ascension truly actually lies in this moment now. And the internet, man, social media, the internet, it's like always calling us out of the present moment. So I've just been taking an unplanned sort of casual social media break as I deepen into the present moment myself, and also kind of hoping that I'm at least temporarily not contributing to the deafening roar of noise online that lures so many of us out of the present moment of our real lived lives and into this like bizarre alternate reality that we have created here on the worldwide interwebs. But anyway, here I am today because it's the beginning of the month. So of course I have to do an energy report. And the card that we have for the month of August is the Ace of Swords, which is a beautiful card. It is very neutral. It doesn't have a lot of like positivity or negativity around it. It just is what it is. But what the Ace of Swords represents is a moment of eureka level clarity. Now, this clarity is more like a piece of the puzzle. It's not so much a clarity like this isn't a major arcana card. So a card such as the Star, which is a major arcana card, would be talking about the kind of clarity where the veil is truly dropped and we see the all, the oneness, the capital T truth of all that is, and we're brought to our knees and we just like cry and have an emotional release. That is more of a different card. The Ace of Swords is about a piece of the puzzle in your life. It's like a moment of clarity. It's fleeting. It's not that full enlightenment, and yet it moves things forward. And who doesn't love forward motion and forward momentum? So the Ace of Swords moment, actually, I always use this deck. It's my favorite deck. People always ask me what it is, so I'll tell you it is the Moonchild Tarot by Danielle Noel. And I love this deck, so I use it all the time. But actually, my favorite Ace of Swords card is from the Wild Unknown deck by Kim Krantz, and it is a lightning strike. And I feel that like that's so fitting for the Ace of Swords energy. So it's like suddenly, so we're in the dark, right? Just like life, we're in the dark. The Ace of Swords energy is like a bolt of lightning that illuminates the space rapidly and brilliantly. And suddenly we can see so much more. And in that moment, when we have that aha that the Ace of Swords is representing, we have to be as lucid as possible and extricate as much detail and clarity from it as possible and anchor it in, because that flash of knowingness, that aha moment, is going to pass just as quickly as it came. And all we are going to be left with is the lingering imprint, like on our, the back of our eyelids of, what was illuminated, and eventually that will fade too. But the Ace of Swords, the clarity that comes through is meant to change us. So we have to be on our game, on the ball. We have to do the work of being ready to seize that moment when it comes, no matter what we're doing, and like soak it in, which I guess is probably why I felt compelled to talk about the present moment in opening this energy report, because it is presence. It's like, yeah, man, I'm just so aware of how much of our lives we fritter away on our devices, you know. And I'm not trying to tell you to turn off Instagram right now while you're watching this. I'm not trying to tell you that you shouldn't be using social media. I use it as part of my business. But it almost has a glamour on it. Like there's a spell that's cast on it that pulls us into, like I said, an alternate version of reality or a parallel reality that is real because we make it real. We give matter to it. But it pulls us away from the presence in our true embodied reality, which is so full of magic. We can barely even comprehend how much magic is available to us in the now, if only we could be present within it. And so the Ace of Swords is like being ready to drop your distractions. If you're in the middle of binging YouTube shorts or TikToks or whatever, and you have an aha moment, you better fucking be ready to put that goddamn handheld device down and go pull out a piece of paper and a writing utensil and write down your clarity. Write it down. Mark my words. Don't type it into the notes thing on the notes app on your phone. Record it into this 3D reality on a piece of paper with an old-fashioned writing implement such as a pen or pencil, or if you have small children, a broken piece of crayon that you randomly find. Record it. Anchor it into this reality because it will pass just as quickly. You know those moments where you just feel like it's like a mini enlightenment, right? It's like I said, it's not the full enlightenment that changes you so completely that you could never go back. These pieces of clarity represented by the Ace of Swords are very important and we don't want to miss them, but they aren't the kind that change us forever unless we decide to be changed. We can just as easily miss them and let them go. And one of the greatest ways to anchor these things in is to either speak it out or write it out. That takes it from like an ephemeral sort of like insubstantial idea, consciousness realization kind of thing, and it pulls it down into this timeline you're in, this reality. And even if you're in the process of trying to move into a different timeline intentionally, you're wanting to timeline surf, you're wanting to manifest something different and shift into a better timeline, even if you're wanting to quantum leap. This is the moment that you're in right now, so anchor it in right here and right now. Because as I said, it will pass just as quickly and you won't remember it. It feels to me when I tune into the month of August, it continues to feel like a fairly peaceful month. Like I don't feel any powerful positive or negative charge around it. I feel a lot of neutrality, but these eureka moments are such a boon. They're such a gift. It's almost like finally getting the answer to a question that you've had for a long time that allows you to break free from a stalemate of a pattern that you've been in and you've been repeating for years and years and years. It's like that piece of clarity can shift everything for you if you allow it to. But it's not the same as like the literal clouds parting and the face of God shining down through the clouds and completely revolutionizing your whole entire consciousness. I don't really honestly know if there's more to say about it than that. I think this is like my shortest energy report ever. I'm actually like, surely I can think of something else to say. But in terms of the energy report itself, August just feels like continuing to enjoy those, remaining weeks of summer, which kind of honestly breaks my heart even to say that. And I think the card for this quarter was the 9 of Pentacles, if I'm not mistaken, which is also just like enjoying and soaking up all the available joy and beauty. And then just being ready, being poised to take that eureka moment when it comes. And it might also not feel mind-blowing. It might be something where, you know, you're just driving and all of a sudden it hits you. You're like, oh my God. But it's like, oh my God, like that. It's not like, oh my God, which is why I'm stressing the importance of being ready to take that piece of clarity when it comes. And also to not just dismiss it like it's not big enough or, you know, like, oh, I'm probably just making this up. I'm probably delusionaling myself or whatever. Take it. Take this piece of clarity. Right now, I am very much viewing reality through the framework of, as I explained in my last Instagram live here, I think entitled it something like multidimensional travel, timeline shifting in the Akashic Records or something like that. But I am just really, really focused on mastering our 4th dimensional consciousness and mastering manifestation. It feels like the most important thing we could do right now. And it requires that deep presence. And so to me, as I was tuning into this energy of the Ace of Swords in the month of August, what it was feeling like is, yeah, that sense of being given the key to, no, that's not the right way. Okay. A lot of the time I see timeline shifting as moving through a multi-laned highway, right? So you're on a 4-laned highway, maybe a 5-laned highway, and there's just traffic all around you. It's like thickly trafficked, cars everywhere. If you want to get off on an exit and you want to quantum leap to a whole different version of reality, you have to shift across, you know, and you're in the left lane, you have to shift across all of the center lanes to get to the right lane to be able to take the exit on the off ramp to get to that other timeline, to quantum leap. And the Ace of Swords energy is like seeing that opening in traffic and fucking moving, like getting on it. Do not hesitate. Just, you see the opening and go for it because it's going to close up just as quickly as it opened. So you're poised, you're present in your life, you're noticing the things. You are able to sort of like figure out the piece that needs to shift so that you can move into that next closest timeline that will lead you to the one that you actually want to be on. Just to go off on a little bit of a tangent, I know in my last live, the one that I just referenced, I was talking about that message that I got in February of 2022 about how like really the big event, the big shift that has happened, like the shift from 3D to 5D, whatever, has already occurred, and that we are already on the ships. And to me, the ships are transiting our consciousness through the 4th dimension. That's what the ships are. So the 3D is not here. It's not actually got us the way that it used to. Even the quality of reality feels very different to me now than it did, I often say, in the 90s, but it's also the 2000s, the 80s. Can't really speak to any time before that. But the quality of reality feels different. It does not feel as physical, even though, you know, I won't deny that when I touch my desk, it feels physical underneath my hand. But it seems to me that we're in this fluid medium that is the 4th dimension. And the fluid medium is created from our perceptions of space and time. It's very much like a dream. The way that a dream feels fluid and flowing, it feels not static at all. It's very dynamic. Like our dreams change. You know, when you're dreaming and you're like in your dream, immersed in your dream, and you go into a house, unless you are lucidly dreaming, you assume that the house that you are entering is solid, and so you experience it as solid and you don't know to question it otherwise. And I think that's actually what's happening with our consciousness here. We assume that all of this is solid, but it's actually a fluid dream construct. And as we begin to question it, and as we begin to remember how to play with the medium of this fluid dream construct, it becomes even less solid and even more changeable. And I feel like that's really what we're being guided towards. In my last live, I talked about the importance of wrapping up our stories, like clearing out and processing our remaining trauma, because it just can't come with us where we're going. It can't come with us. We have to alchemize and refine the perceptions that were created around our trauma experiences and the traumas that we continue to carry with us. And then we also are being guided to wrap up our stories. So think of your story and think of the best ending possible. The best ending possible. And think of all the things that you want to manifest. And write that story for yourself. Like this one you can either type out. I always recommend writing it on physical paper, because even though it's kind of slow and ponderous compared to typing, it really does lock it into our psyche so much more permanently and deeply. But, however you choose to do it, write out your story, your best story, the best ending to your story. And in fact, go back and rewrite pieces of your story that need to be rewritten. I know I talked about this on my last live too. It's interesting that the themes are kind of repeating themselves, and they are organically. I'm not just choosing to talk about the same thing again, because last night I was tuning into my highest manifestation, and I could feel that juicing up my manifestation and my vision wasn't the most effective thing to do. And so I was like, okay, well, what do I need to do instead? What would be more effective? And the understanding that I received in response to that self, questioning was, you need to revise something in your past. So to call it revision is to borrow the term from Neville Goddard, who spoke of it quite frequently. But I understood it previously as something that I call quantum timeline healing. And it's where you go back into your story and you ask for pivotal moments. And this isn't simply about rewriting traumas either. Definitely rewrite traumas, but it's not just that. It's where you ask yourself to show you ask your subconscious to show your conscious mind where there were forks in the road, where truly another timeline, like a significant timeline branching, happened, and you didn't, you took the fork that you took. It's like rewinding back to that place and then taking the other fork in the road and taking it to your highest timeline. So for me, when I was going back through this revision process last night, it was really around my oldest son, who's 18 and a half, and regrets I have about certain things in his childhood, certain ways that I feel like I was not the mom that he deserved, and not a bad mom, but, just things that kind of haunt me and linger with me. And so I was going back into this revision, and I just asked, like, where is the entry point for a different timeline, so that I'm not just making up a different story, but I'm actually locating a different point where I could have taken a different path, and it's not necessarily obvious. And I was shown several different timelines where I could take a different path, and they weren't related to traumas, but they were very important moments where I didn't recognize or accept my power in those moments. And it's working because you feel yourself literally transforming from the inside out while it's happening. And then it starts to reflect in your outside world around you. Like, you literally chose a different timeline. Again, this isn't a self-deluding, fantastical, imaginary act where you just make up a different ending and you deny, the facts of the past, which aren't even really fully facts anyway, because the past is as malleable as the future, and the present is also very, very, very malleable, increasingly malleable as we transit through this fourth dimensional field together, this fourth dimensional dream. But you're not just overwriting, you're not crafting and this and this and this happened, and I'm just going to totally pretend that the bad things didn't happen and everything is all better. You're not overlaying a fake version of reality on top of it and just fooling yourself. I mean, we can do that too, but I tried that, not for the purpose of trying it, but that was my first attempt at the revision last night. And I could feel like there wasn't any of that internal transformation happening. None of the inner alchemy. I could feel that it was just a flat, overlay of something a way that I wish it had gone differently. But when I reframed it and I asked, what was the entry point for me to take a different timeline, take a different path, I was brought specifically to places that my conscious mind never would have thought to look. And I could feel, oh yeah, there was actually a different path there. And then what you're doing is you're sending your consciousness. Now you are sort of pulling your consciousness out of this timeline that has unfolded as a result of the choice that you made in the past. You're rewinding it back, and you are pulling a bunch of your consciousness out of that, and you're starting to funnel it in the different timeline, and they will all come to converge anyway at the same point. So you're also not going down an entirely different reality that's a complete departure from the life that you are living. All roads lead to Rome, so to speak. Everything is going to converge at a point of singularity for you, where you come into your one highest timeline now. But this is just a way of bringing those lost parts of you from the past along the journey with you. It's like you're going back to collect them and bring them forward, but you're bringing them along a different path. Like that old path, we don't have to relive that old path anymore. We get to choose a different path now. Hopefully this is making sense. There's something else I was going to say too about all this timeline shifting and stuff. But the way it seems to me is that we just have no idea how powerful we are. We have no idea. We have no idea how much of the driver's seat we are truly in, no matter what our circumstances look like. Truly, we are in the driver's seat. And it doesn't mean that we have the power to completely alter all of our circumstances instantaneously and right away. But the power that we have is to write the highest story for ourselves and to start living that highest story. And this also isn't meant to be a motivational speech where I'm just adjust your mindset and keep going and don't quit, all of that, 100% for sure. And there's something very important to be said for adjusting our mindset. But what I mean is that there is no destiny that's written for us, but the one that we write for ourselves. And we are writing it in real time right now. We are writing our destiny right now, but we are writing it in pencil. It can be erased. It can be changed. And so many of us are living our lives as though these outside things are happening to us, these external things, and we are responding to it as though the situation has power over us, or there are ways in which we are stuck, and that's just simply, it's not true. We can make it feel very fucking true, and we do, but it's not the absolute truth. The absolute truth is that this whole thing is extremely, extremely malleable. And in order to get into fifth dimensional consciousness, we have to accept that. There is no other way. There's no other way. I perceive that it's being required of us. The way it appears to me is that even people who have no desire to spiritually awaken at all whatsoever are having things happen in their lives that are requiring them to go into deeper levels of self-awareness and self-assessment. I don't perceive that there is truly the option that remains for us to just go on being in ignorant bliss, if you could call it ignorant bliss, because I don't really think it was blissful. But we can't continue on in a level of unconsciousness. It's just not available anymore. We have to start seeing that we are fucking literally manifesting right now, all day, every day. And we have to start seeing the shitty things in our lives and being like, wow, I made that. What have I been thinking over the past few days, few weeks, whatever, few months that has created this situation for me? Because that is literally what's happening. And when you figure that out, you can then start to adjust the things that you're thinking, the things that you're believing, the things that you're assuming to be true. Adjust your responses and reactions to what is coming at you in the 3D, which isn't really the 3D, it's the 4D, but whatever. But in your solid manifested present. And you can start sculpting it in real time. And it's very much like working out. It's interesting because I have had so much resistance to working out. I mean, so much. My whole life. I don't really know where it comes from. My guess would be that I had asthma when I was a child and it wasn't fun and I wasn't coordinated. I'm not athletic at all. And also the boys in my class would be, express their extreme criticism and disappointment at me if I was on their team, if we were playing soccer or something and I missed the ball or missed the shot or whatever. So I think it was just simply that. But the point is I'm somebody that just so much resistance to working out. And I decided I was going to start working out and do it as an accountability thing with one of my private clients right now. And so I'm going on 3 weeks of working out every single day in some way or another. And I feel amazing about it. And I'm really appreciating the parallels that when you start working out, you don't see the results right away the first day. It doesn't happen. You don't even start seeing the results in the first week. I mean, I'm talking about starting to work out. I don't mean somebody that's well conditioned and has a good thing going on. When you're starting from day one, you don't see the results in the first week. You don't even you maybe start seeing the ghost of results around week 2, a little bit more, maybe week 3. But I think around week 4, week 5 is when you start seeing it and really feeling it. And so you have to persist that whole entire time. I saw somebody post something the other day about you start to feel it in 2 weeks, you start to see it in 4 weeks, and you start to hear it reflected back to you in 8 weeks from other people. And I thought that's the perfect way of understanding manifestation and what we're doing as we are mastering the 4th dimension as well, is to understand that there is a lag time, and that lag time it's mediated by the level of faith that we have. So if we are double-minded and we spend a lot of time doubting that any of this is even real and we can do any of this, we're definitely increasing our lag time. We are slowing down our progress and the compound. It's like compound interest. Like we have to compound all of the care and the attention that we are putting into the curation of our thoughts and our reactions and the amount of energy we're putting into juicing up the timeline that we actually want to calibrate to. I just tangented myself. My thought just disappeared. I know what I was talking about. I just dropped off where I was talking about it. well, anyway, that we will increase our lag time. And then our lag time is also dependent on the beliefs that we have going on about what is possible. So if we believe that it's going to take a long time, then it will take a long time because we just set the parameters, and so it will take a long time. But regardless, where we're at with our consciousness right now, as we are learning to sculpt this whole fourth dimensional realm that we are transiting through on the way to the fifth dimension, is that there's going to be a lag as we start practicing a focus on the timeline that we desire to calibrate to. And we can't get discouraged by that lag. We can't get hung up on it and be like, it's not happening and none of this is working. We have to have the patience with ourselves and with this holographic dream projection that we are creating. And we have to show up and be consistent and persistent within it in order to experience results. But the great, hilarious fucking joke, the most hilarious joke of all of this, is that what we call the 3D, our solidly manifested reality, isn't even where the actual juice of everything lies. It's kind of like, I know it can be confusing because I'm talking about the importance of being present, but it's because we're being present with the living data and the living feedback that we are receiving right now. And in presence, we are deciding what we want to amplify and juice up and what things we want to sort of like, let go of and prune and sweep away. So for example, if I'm being really present with my children and I'm playing with them on the swings and they're laughing, and it's just like the sound of their laughter is like literal music. It's so beautiful. The more I put my attention on that, the more I populate my future with that. That's why the present moment is so important. But ultimately, we're almost always oriented towards facing the past as we focus on this 3D manifested reality. This is old news. This is the manifestation of your beliefs and your vibration, your frequency, whatever, from 3 days ago, a week ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago, etc. And we think that's what's real and what is the real moment. But the place we want to orient ourselves in order to master this transit through the fourth dimension is we want to face ourselves forward and focus on the thing that is calling us. So it's like that imaginary thing that you want to experience that isn't quite here yet. That is actually the present. That's what the present is. And when you focus on the things in your current life that you love, like those moments where you're with your partner or your friend, or just even by yourself and you're enjoying an ice cream, or you're with your dog, or you're on the beach, like just those beautiful moments that are absolutely priceless. It's like not being distracted and letting those slip away, but gathering those up and like smelling the bouquet that they are, just like, soaking it all in, and that populates it into your future. So it's like we're right on the very edge of the past as we interact with our physically, tangibly manifested present, but we're facing the future that we're creating, and we're always thinking from that future. And it's not necessarily like some long-term future that isn't here or accessible yet. It's like the future that I am sending my energy down right now. And it's like you're picking up this along with like, and I want this and I want that. It's so much like driving. Like, for example, if you're driving, you're not looking out the back unless you are looking in your rear view mirrors. And in your rear view mirrors, the only reason you're looking in those mirrors is for information about what's coming up around you, right? Your we can think that the present is where the vehicle is at any given time, but everybody who drives knows that what you actually need to do is focus on like the point on the road ahead of you where you want to go. That is how you get where you want to go. And you are still aware of what's around you, where the car is right now, and you're like dealing with that information as it comes into your field, but your focus is on where you're going. And that is what we need to move into. But it's also not about traditional goal setting. Like, that is very 3D thinking as well, which is totally okay and is applicable in some situations. But more of the messages that I'm getting is like understanding that as we focus on the point of the road up ahead of us and where we want to go, we're not thinking about like, and I need to get here first and I need to get there first, and these are the steps in order to get there. What we're actually doing in our lives is we're letting this fluid like future move and transform around us and through us, through our imagination, as we are dealing with our physically manifested reality right now. Like, we are moving ourselves forward on the timeline that we want to be on. And so much of what that means is letting go of our stories, our negative stories, like any story that you're carrying that does not result in you living that highest timeline. You just have to start to let it go. You have to relinquish it and just let it go. You have to put your focus on... It's so hard to talk about it. It's so fucking hard to talk about it in English. It's like, you have to put your focus on the future. But what I'm trying to say is that's not even the future. That's the present. That is the present. The present is that moment that hasn't quite manifested yet. It's like, it's right ahead of you. I don't mean the moment like it's going to manifest in 2 seconds. I mean the moment that hasn't manifested yet, and who knows when it will manifest because time isn't even real. But that's the whole point, is we have to start realizing that time is not real, that this whole reality is way less solid than we think it is. It is way more malleable than we think it is. We are the ones that are driving the car on the road. And that if we continue to focus solely on where the car is on the road right now without paying attention to where the car is moving, then we are probably going to drive off the road, because that's only a piece of the information, and that's what we have been doing. But really all of this is about just letting ourselves wrap up the old stories and the old perceptions of ourselves that we've had, wrap up this whole, I don't know, it's like, it's not just a chapter, it's like wrapping up an entire book in a series of books, you know, like the book of you, like you're wrapping up this whole book. And that doesn't mean that you're going to die either. It means like this part of your story is ending. So, and something beautiful and new is literally being birthed as this one ends. So this isn't the end of you. This is just the end of this part of your story. But what ending are you choosing for yourself? And are you truly, truly aligned with that? Is that the one that you're juicing up? Is that the one you're choosing? Is it the one that you're just like wanting and hoping happens? Like it's like a passive thing. Like, I hope it's in the cards for me. That's just not how this reality works. There is no hoping it's in the cards for you. Like somebody put it in the cards for you. And you just have to like live out the shit, you know, the shit hand you're dealt. I know why we think that. I know that's the experience that we've had. And yet that's the experience that we've had because that's what we've been led to believe. And it's just simply not true. You are deciding what hand you hold. You are deciding what cards you're dealt. You're deciding the ending of your story, and you're writing it in real time right now. And bringing it back to the Ace of Swords, that's what this card means to me. It's like it'll play out differently for all of us in this month. But it's going to be that moment where you can see, it's like an opening in in a screen that was preventing you from seeing what you need to shift within your perception in order to shift into the next available timeline that will take you to the ending of the story that you actually want. And you have to be like on alert and present and deeply in your present moment so that when you see that opening come, you're able to take it. You're not going to miss out on it because you're distracted, because you are drawn into the hypnosis of your screens or whatever things distract us, right? Can be other things too, but I'm just super aware that the internet is a weird parallel reality that sucks us out of this real reality. And I don't know, sometimes I'm like, is it like a weird AI thing that's feeding off of us? I'm not sure. But also, again, I use it. I'm using it right now to communicate with all of you. So I'm not trying to demonize the internet. I just know that we need to take responsibility for being deeper in our present realities. Okay, I feel like I've rambled long enough. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy my energy reports, I do free weekly tarot and Akashic energy readings for the collective, and I offer them via email. They're totally, absolutely 100% free, no commitment at all. It's an audio recording, so it's almost like a second podcast that comes out every week. You can sign up for those if you haven't already through the link in my Instagram bio. And if you're watching this on YouTube or in Soul Space, then the link will be provided. But I hope this energy report serves you. I hope you have an amazing month of August. I hope that you are able to take that Ace of Swords moment as it comes, that eureka moment of clarity, and maybe there will be multiple moments of clarity. That would be the dopest shit ever. But I hope you have an amazing month. I love you so much, and I will catch you next month. And happy birthday to my OG best friend, Nancy. Love you, Nana Lou. I hope you're having an amazing day. Bye, everyone.